Now, this first question is from Josh from New Hampshire. Where do bats store pollen after collecting it, Jenny?
Bats don't actually store pollen the way bees do. They get it all over their fur and they fly away from the flower and then they just start licking it off and eating it. So they don't need to store it.
Yum, yum, yum. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Johanna. Now, this is for Miss Carol and from Miss Martin's third grade class in Carrollton, Texas. What do flies use to collect pollen?
Well, a lot of flies are very hairy, and so they can actually collect it on their bodies and move it around. And some of the flies, we didn't have a chance to really zoom in close to that one fly that we showed during our segment, but their whole bodies, even if they're not hairy, a lot of times their bodies will just be covered with pollen, and that's how they move it around.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please. Thank you so much, Kyra. And this is from Mrs. Hart's class in Olney, Illinois. How do some bats get to the pollen in small plants, and how are they attracted since they're blind?
Okay, the blind thing is really a misconception about the bats. Bats have very good vision. They can see in the daylight and at night, and I don't know where the idea that bats are blind came from, but it's simply not true. As far as getting into the smaller plants, bats that pollinate plants usually have a long nose or snout that they can poke right into the flower, and they don't go to every single kind of flower. They just go to the kinds of flowers that are kind of shaped like a cone, and they can stick their nose right in there and get the pollen on them and take it to another flower to pollinate it.
So it's like a symbiotic relationship.
Very much
there.
so.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you so much, Erin. Now, this is for Miss Carol again, and this is from Mrs. Kern's third grade class in Carrollton, Texas. How many pollinators are there in the whole world? Wow.
You know, it's an excellent question, and we really don't have a great answer. We know that there are at least 100,000, but there might be as many as 200,000 pollinators out there, and the vast majority of those are insects.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Johanna. This question is from Jason in New Hampshire, and he wants to know, at what age do bats start pollinating?
That's rather an interesting question. Remember, bats are mammals, so when they're first born, they nurse from their parents, and they nurse only for 2 or 3 weeks, and then the baby bats, which are called pups, can fly, and they'll follow their mother or their father or the other bats out to the flowers and collect pollen. So they can eat pollen just within a month of when they're born, and they continue to eat it the rest of their life.
Okay, thank you very much. 1 minute. All right, and we have time for one more question, and this is for Miss Carol again from Evan in Soldotna, Alaska.
Okay.
And this is from K Beach Elementary. Do insects have ears?
You know, insects, they don't have ears like our ears, but they do have different organs that they use that hear. And some of them have organs that are actually called tympanum that are located on their legs, of all things. But insects actually have a variety of things on their body that help them perceive what we listen to, sound.
That's very interesting. Yes. Did we have, okay, and so that's all the time that we have for questions. And so now we're going to wrap up this segment.